Can you give me a sense as an entrepreneur about the impact on business of the self-isolation that comes with anyone being pinged by the COVID app?
Well, in many cases, I'm afraid, Mark, it's little short of catastrophic. So every day, companies I'm involved with or businesses I know are telling me that, for example, I had a restaurant booking for next over the weekend that's been cancelled because the restaurants had to shut down for a number of days because so many staff are self-isolating. Obviously, there's schools where there are hundreds of thousands of children self-isolating. And for example, on Brighton Pier, we are having to carry a number of business I'm involved with, a number of extra staff because we are all the time having staff pinged and bang, they've got to go and self-isolate. And this isn't exactly improving the country's productivity.
And I think that public confidence in this app will diminish, Luke, when we hear more and more anecdotes about doctors in particular in the NHS and nurses being told to delete the app, otherwise they'll be sent home.
Well, we know that the NHS has huge numbers of staff who are self-isolating. And this is one of the reasons why patients are finding it so difficult to get treatment and diagnosis, because the NHS is not functioning properly. Not only does it have COVID monomania, but test and trace means all these staff are having to isolate. And I think the current testing mania and all the self-isolating that follows from it that the UK has got, doing uniquely more tests than anywhere else, certainly in Europe, I think in the world per capita, it should stop, because I think it's not, what's the point of it?
Do we need to self-isolate when the majority of the vulnerable groups in our society and most adults, Luke, have been protected, have been vaccinated?
Well, clearly, either we believe that 2 doses of the vaccine very largely protects us against hospitalization and death, or we don't. And as the government and scientists now say, we have to learn to live with this virus. We cannot let it dominate our every waking hour. And doing things like excluding so many people from society, self-isolating, who are not showing any symptoms, it seems to me is very destructive and, making a lot of people very unhappy.
And Luke, in terms of consumer confidence, I would have thought that the threat of the ping is just as bad as the ping itself.
Sure. Who wants to be lonely and shut indoors, quarantined for up to 10 days? I don't know anyone who would want.
Well, for example, Luke, I might think twice about going to the Dog and Duck on Sunday to watch the football because I don't want to be off air for the next 10 days.
No. Well, obviously, one of the things that a great many people have already, and I'm sure will do even more, is to delete the app, frankly, and then they can't be pinged. And, we have to, the battle we have ahead of us is not so much now, I think, removing the virus, it's removing the fear. The politicians and their propaganda, and to a degree, I'm afraid, the media, have conspired to terrify the country such that we are more afraid, more anxious about this virus than any other nation. And to get our lives back, we have to stop this psychological torture. And remember, there are many risks to life, that at the end, we all face death, we're all mortal, and we need to enjoy what life is.
Clearly, the COVID app is not currently fit for purpose. The Adam Smith Institute have predicted that 4.5 million people could end up self-isolating, Luke. Are you optimistic that the app will go in the near term? For example, there's already talk of tweaking the app so it acknowledges people that have been double vaccinated. But I just wonder whether there's a chance it will be scrapped altogether by Freedom Day on July the 19th.
Who knows? One can but hope. I do think that we now have a better team in charge, certainly in the health ministry. And I think they are taking a much more realistic and pragmatic view and proportionate view of this disease. They realise that, for example, there were 7 million people who did not get a medical referral during lockdown, who have many other illnesses and possible illnesses. And these people need to be treated. We need to get the NHS properly back up and working again at full strength. We need to get the rest of society working so the economy can pay for things like the NHS. And we have to stop this daft, enforced idleness and loneliness, which is deriving from all these people being pinged.
Do you think that the government's commitment to this app is a long-term project, Luke?
I hope not, because I think it infringes our freedoms, and I think it's destructive. I don't think it's making us safer at all. I think it's making us more anxious, which is surely not healthy. We need to look at people's overall well-being.
Some businesses are we are told, Luke, being told that after Freedom Day it will be their discretion as to whether they request vaccine status for access to their services. What's your view of businesses that go for that?
I think they're ill-advised because, again, I think it's about our basic liberty and the idea that you should discriminate and have a sort of apartheid system where if you're not vaccinated, you're not allowed in, which immediately, for example, discriminates very unfairly against the young, who've borne the brunt, I would argue, of much of the harmful aspects of this period of disease. So I think it's fundamentally wrong, and I think we should resist it. And I hope that no companies choose to take that discriminatory view.
And it's likely, isn't it, if this kind of app stayed in place going into the future, that it will have an impact on consumer confidence and on consumer behaviour. I mean, I certainly would think twice about going to venues at which I had to show my phone.
Sure. I think it's intrusive to have to disclose your medical treatments. I think it's wrong to try and bully those who, for whatever reason, have decided not to have the vaccine to have it. I think it is discriminatory in its very nature. And I think it's all more Big Brother stuff where the government is manipulating us. And I think we should resist it.
I'm sure that it will be tweaked, if not entirely scrapped, by the 19th of July. It just doesn't make any sense at the moment. It's chaos as we speak, Luke. Broadly, are you confident now that Freedom Day will happen on the 19th of July? Over 100 scientists wrote to the Lancet magazine this week saying that it was reckless to actually lift COVID restrictions on the 19th of July. It seems like the Prime Minister wants to press ahead. Will he?
I greatly hope he will. The truth of the matter is that the announcement they made this last Monday was pretty definitive. Clearly, they will reinforce that or not on Monday. I sincerely hope they do. I think, the country seeing the scenes at Wimbledon, at Wembley even, tells us that this is a bit of an irreversible road. Luckily, there are a great many more than 100 scientists in the UK. So, those particular scientists can write to the Lancet all they want. They're not in charge. They're only advisors. They may not even be that. And, I think we need to now get away from the compulsive obsession with COVID and remember all the other aspects of life, the other diseases that kill people, and get things in proportion.
Luke, you are one of the country's most high-profile and successful entrepreneurs. You've had the Midas touch with many businesses in different genres. Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is urging Britons to get back to the workplace when coronavirus restrictions are lifted on the 19th of July. The order to work from home is expected to be scrapped. How important is it to get people back to the office?
I think it depends a great deal on what the company does and the culture of the business. But I would say overall that I think being in the room face to face rather than on endless Zoom calls is preferable. I think the nuance of communication in person is always dramatically improved. And I think that hiding away, isolated, fragmented in one's home is by no means a good thing. Clearly, a lot of people hate commuting, and commuting can be expensive. And for them, they probably don't want to come into town every day of the week. I get that. So I think a hybrid working model is the likely future. I think it will be up to individual employers to decide what their preference is. But certainly, most of those businesses I know, the bosses want to maintain the culture of the business and to, keep employees engaged and morale and so forth. They want them back in face-to-face because we're social human beings and we want to interact rather than on a screen, but in person.
Luke, a couple of other issues to wrap up whilst we have you. You are a high-profile entrepreneur, but also a high-profile Brexit supporter. Do you think that our departure from the European Union looks set to pay dividends as we exit the pandemic and this enormous recession?
I think there are some good and bad aspects of it. I think, as ever, it's not black and white. So clearly, some advantages have paid off, such as the way in which we procured the vaccines. Others are clearly a challenge, such as imports and exports from the EU currently, and the issues surrounding Northern Ireland. So I think there are definitely problems, and we have to try and work to solve those. But there are advantages and opportunities, such as free trade agreements with many other countries, some of which we've already negotiated, others of which we're working on, that could pay dividends. So I think we have to try and be optimistic about it. We have to say, look, we are set on this path. We need to make the most of it. We should not look backwards, but we should look forwards. We want to do free trade. We want to have sensible immigration policies and other aspects of controlling our own destiny. And we need to take advantage of not being within the EU rather than seeing it as a tragedy and therefore hoping it will fail, because I don't think we're going to reverse course. So we need to make the most of our new status.
With the benefit of hindsight, would you back the Brexit that we have today, Luke?
That's a really good question. I think probably I would, but I think it's more about political liberty than about the economic advantages, which I think could be there, but are not all apparent yet. And I think there are challenges ahead for sure.